All right, welcome back. How you doing? Hello to the VC, the vinyl community. On this edition, I thought I would spotlight Indigenous artists from Canada. These are artists and groups you may not be familiar with, and certainly groups and artists that I'm discovering as time goes on. And yeah, so I'll present what I have from my collection, and hopefully you'll enjoy. And so let's get going. So we'll start it off with some vinyl, actually, but a 45 RPM. This is the band, the Jerry Cans. And this is the single that came out on the last record store day that I picked up. The Jerry Cans covering Tragically Hip's Ahead by a Century. Now, the Jerry Cans are certainly from the far north, from Iqaluit, Nunavut, and they sing in Inuktitut, which is the language of the Inuit people. Their music is kind of described as alt-country or alt-folk. I don't know if that's a fair description of the band. Certainly, this is one group I would love to see live in concert. I've seen various clips of their performances on YouTube, and great energy. They incorporate accordion, violin, but also traditional throat singing as well. So it's quite a concert performance. And so this is their single that came out for Record Store Day, Ahead by a Century, the Tragically Hip tune, and they do a great cover of the song. All right, so let's take a look inside. So we got the outer sleeve there, that comes in a nice paper sleeve, and then inside we have the single. Very nice. Alright, so that's the Jerry Cans. They have a couple of albums available. I definitely will have to check them out. Incidentally, the name, the Jerry Cans, reportedly the drummer at one time trying to make a makeshift drum kit out of Jerry Cans. Early days. I think that's a great name for a band, too. So the Jerry Cans. Well worth checking out. All right, so there you have that. Let's move on to some other artists. This is certainly one artist that should be no stranger to the music community. Buffy Sainte Marie. And this is her album Medicine Songs, which came out in 2017. And certainly gets my vote as one of the best albums from 2017. This is a powerful album. Kicks off with the song You Got to Run, Spirit of the Wind, where she teams up with traditional throat singer Tanya Tagaq. It is a great track, and certainly it's a great album overall. 13 tracks in total. The War Rackets, another powerful song. She does versions of some of her older material, including My Country, 'Tis of Thy People You're Dying, America the Beautiful, Universal Soldier, kind of putting them into today's context, if you will. But a great album overall. I'll show you the inside. And she is 77 years of age, still going strong and still telling it like it is. Having her voice heard for sure. Okay, so this is the CD version. It is also available on vinyl. Some of the marketing with this I thought was a little odd. It's 13 songs on the disc, which is great. But then they also had bonus tracks available. There were 7 bonus tracks, but they gave you a download card, and then you had to go to the website to download them. But they were only available as MP3s. And sound quality, I'm not a huge fan of MP3s. I don't really care for the sound quality of MP3. Give me vinyl, give me CD, but I'm not a fan of MP3, so I found that a little disappointing. I would have rather wished that they would have had a better high-resolution sound quality available, or just have it as an extra disc, or even if the songs all fit on one disc, just put them on that for the CD and maybe not the vinyl or whatever. But I thought that was a little odd, but it doesn't take away from a very great album. Powerful singer. Buffy Sainte Marie, Medicine Songs. Okay, and I've also got Buffy Sainte Marie's Best of collection from the Vanguard label. This is the Best of Buffy Sainte Marie. If you're unfamiliar with Buffy Sainte Marie, this would be a good place to start. This was originally a 2 LP set on 1 CD, so you get 24 tracks, including Universal Soldier, the original version, and Donovan, of course, covered that song, and also her track Until It's Time for You to Go, and Elvis Presley covered that one. And this also has the original My Country, 'Tis of Thy People You're Dying. But great introduction to the music of Buffy Sainte Marie, the best of. So check that one out. Okay, so this time we go back up to the far north again for a singer who was raised in Nunavut, what was then the Northwest Territories, Susan Aglukark. And this is her album from 1995 from EMI. and the album This Child. And this was a big hit in Canada. When released, this went 3 times platinum. She's a lovely singer. She's got a terrific voice. This is a little bit more mainstream. This one features the song O Siam, which was a hit on radio. It got airplay in the country charts, the adult contemporary charts, and also pop radio as well. So again, a little bit more mainstream in the musical approach, but certainly nice songs, very uplifting, very moving material, great harmonies, great voice, and yeah, as I mentioned, O Siam was the big hit from this one. And this came out in 1995, and this was certainly at a time, late 80s, 90s, when EMI/Capitol in Canada were signing a lot of Canadian artists, including Susan Gluckart. And she's still going, still recording albums periodically, but there you go. All right, and this time we're off to Quebec for a group that has since disbanded. The artists have gone their separate ways but still recording. Talking about the band Kashtin, Innu singers Kashtin, and from Quebec, and the features band members Claude Mackenzie and Florent Vallant. And they put out 3 albums. I have only 2 of them, and Kashtin actually means a tornado in the Innu language. And so this is the first album. These guys really remind me of the Jerry Cans, actually. Really up, melodic music, great energy. So very similar to the Jerry Cans. So that's their first album. And then I have their second album. So that one came out, this was in 1989, and this one, Innu, came out in 1991. But as I mentioned, they've since gone their separate ways. But they certainly did have an influence, because their music and the group were featured on another artist that we'll be featuring for this edition, Robbie Robertson, of course, from the band. Now, Robbie Robertson was born in Toronto. His mother grew up at the Six Nations Reserve near Brantford, and certainly through Robbie Robertson's childhood, he had many visits to the Six Nations Reserve to visit relatives and family there. And certainly in his book, Robbie Robertson Testimony, he talks about how much he enjoyed his visits and his time at the Six Nations Reserve, visiting family, visiting relatives. So you can almost say spiritually he grew up at the Six Nations Reserve. But I've certainly got a number of Robbie Robertson solo releases that we'll go through. Robbie Robertson and the Red Road Ensemble, Music for the Native Americans. And this one came out in, what year was it? 1994. And as I mentioned, Kashtin is featured on this album. All right. And then also from the Robbie Robertson collection, we have Robbie Robertson, Contact from the Underworld of Red Boy. And this one came out in, what year was it? This one also features a bonus track. It came out in, looks like, 1996, something like that? Yeah, okay. Now we have Robbie Robertson's first solo album. This is still such a great album. This one came out in 87, featuring Peter Gabriel. Bono's featured on this one. Songs Fallen Angel, Showdown at Big Sky, Broken Arrow, also Somewhere Down the Crazy River, and Testimony. What a great debut. And Broken Arrow is covered by Rod Stewart later. Just a great, great debut. All right, and Robbie Robertson, his last solo album came out in 2011, and it was called How to Become Clairvoyant. Nice title there, and he teams up with Eric Clapton on a few tracks on this one. Yeah, overall, great album. Nice picture of him there from the Ronnie Hawkins and the Hawks days. This one also came with an extra CD of kind of bonus tracks. They called it the songwriting version, so they're a little bit more stripped back, a little bit more acoustic, different takes, that sort of thing. But yeah, nice album overall. All right, and then we've got Robbie Robertson's Storyville, which is sort of an ode to the sounds of New Orleans. And then we've also got a couple of best ofs. Robbie Robertson, the Millennial Collection best of 20th Century Masters. This was the 20th Century Masters was kind of a budget release, but they filled it up with about 13 tracks. Always kind of nice to have a Robbie Robertson best of. And as I mentioned with the Robbie Robertson autobiography Testimony, which I highly recommend that you pick up. It is a great read. They did also release a CD, sort of in conjunction, simply called Testimony. Matches the cover of the book, and on this one they feature Robbie Robertson solo stuff, also of course the stuff with the band, with Bob Dylan, and with the Hawks as well, and with Levon Helm and the Hawks as well. So yeah, well worth picking up. All right, that's just a sample of what I have in my collection. I think it's a very exciting time for Indigenous artists when you get new groups coming out like Snotty Nose Rez Kids, and you've got Tribe Called Red. It's an exciting time for Indigenous music, and something I'm definitely going to have to check out more of, and hopefully you will too. Thanks so much for dropping by, and hit subscribe, and we'll chat again. Take care, bye-bye.